Hi, my name is Bob Burns and I run a practice in clinical hypnosis here in Montrose in Scotland. And apart from my main work as a clinical hypnotist, I also mentor students who normally come and spend a couple of days with me, being able to see exactly how this stuff works. And of course, I also travel a little, presenting talks and workshops in my own preferred style with regards to hypnosis. For many years I've noticed that one of the main challenges any hypnotist has is in actually getting the client or the patient to relax, to let go, to not fight the hypnotist, but also not try and help them either, but just to quite simply relax. Now, in the actual hypnosis itself, we get to learn that no one who comes to see a therapist and has an intellectual problem, no one has an intellectual problem, rather they have an emotional problem, always inside of them, yet always outside their control. So that means that as a therapist I have to go there, I have to go where this problem lies. And in hypnosis itself there's a strong belief that one of the reasons a hypnotist doesn't get to go there is because of the client's critical factor. Or some prefer to call it the critical faculty. And if you're asking yourself, what does he mean, critical factor? Well, that's it, that's exactly what I mean. It's a part of your mind that will critique information which it will then either accept or reject from entering your subconscious mind. I often liken it to that of a 6-foot 10-inch Viking who stands there staring at me saying, "You're not getting in. You're simply not getting in." So my job is to cajole the Viking, to tweak him, to please him. Only then, when the Viking is happy that the information I'm giving is compatible with the beliefs and values presently stored within the subconscious, will he consider allowing me to step through this door. However, based on that premise, I've always sought to find ways where the critical factor, this lovely Viking, would step aside and allow me to play with this wonderful part of you that we call your subconscious. I use the word play because, first of all, I should say that to my mind, the average subconscious carries with it a wonderful simpleness. It's a simpleness of a 7-year-old boy or girl. It's like it has no real concept between imagination and reality. And that's why it's argued that there is a real need for the Viking, this faculty that critiques. But here's the thing, strange and even as crazy as this may sound, it doesn't really matter that this incredible part of us has no real knowledge of the differences between imagination or reality, assuming there are such things, of course, because this 7-year-old just happens to be a genius. It doesn't need to know the difference. Any good hypnotist will tell you that once the subconscious and the hypnotist are completely working together, this part ensures that the client's imagination absolutely becomes their reality. That's why a good hypnotist understands the power of play. Now, if I can get the person's hand to stick to the chair, I can get them to stick to their goal. If I can get them to see the genie popping out of the matchbox, I can get them to see the opportunity that they haven't been able to see before. If I can become invisible, then so can that obstacle that they've been constantly seeing right in front of them, stopping them from achieving. And if I can get them to forget the number 3, or who they are, or where they live, then I can wipe out, just for a wee while, I can also wipe out the imagined problem which they brought with them into the therapy room, and then I can make that even stronger. I say imagined because that's exactly what the reality of a phobia is. It's an imagined reality. And that is exactly what the cure is. We change our imagination, we change our reality. But for many years now, modern day hypnotists have looked at different ways where we could go straight to the subconscious and bring this Viking with us, where all parties are happy, really happy. Happy in a way where it just becomes fun, just pure fun. And in a way it can be tried with anyone, and also in a way where there is no failure, only great feedback. So many hypnotists like me who firmly believe in the power of the subconscious like to play games with it. We like to talk to it, and we like to get answers. Now, ideomotor responses are simple movements of the body, but what we seek is for those movements to have a meaning, for the right forefinger to mean yes, perhaps, or the small left finger to mean no. Indeed, it's amazing how often no is the middle finger. Anyway, as fun as those ideomotor responses are, the swan is something completely different. Now, some of course will totally disagree with what I'm about to say, and that's okay, But the swan in itself is not hypnosis. Rather, my claim is that with the swan, it is entirely possible to make direct contact with the subconscious without any need or any form of hypnosis to take place. Indeed, I think that in doing the swan, quite possibly, the subconscious does not even look at the Viking, that faculty of critique. And that is because all I'm inviting it to do is play again. I'm literally asking if it's at home and if it would like to come out and play. In the following DVD, you'll be able to make up your mind for yourself. It will only be later, of course, when you try out the swan for yourself, that you'll know that what I say is completely true. That there is no hypnosis as such, but while there is no hypnosis, it does indeed open up the door to do, I believe, what might be seen as a far greater initial contact and then communication with this fascinating part. But in getting that far, that there will be no failure on the part of the therapist, that's important. So it's a no failure motion we're getting involved in here. That is a form of covert hypnosis where, for example, if I walk up to a natural somnambulist who has the wonderful ability of going into hypnosis very easy, I may use the induction. Your hand, I see, is sitting right there on your lap. So it would be very easy for you to lift that hand right now, yeah? And they would say yes. And then I'll invite them to, then in that case, try. Try as hard as you can right now, as hard as you possibly can. Now, of course, a good hypnotist working with a good subject would expect near 100% success rate with this, assuming it has been delivered properly. However, I'm hoping that any experienced hypnotist watching this DVD on the swan will realize that this is something completely different. The proof of the pudding, of course, is in the individual eating it. But more than anything else, in this whole DVD, I want you to realize that I'm really asking the client to see what happens, to remember not to worry, because if something happens, then that's fantastic as we get feedback. But if nothing happens, that's just as fantastic, because again, we get feedback, and feedback is all we're really looking for. We have no expectancy of any outcome in any way, shape or form. Rather, we're looking at 3 and only 3 outcomes. Now, the first is when something happens and at what level, and that's just fantastic. The second is when nothing or next to nothing happens, but the client tells you they felt lots of things going on. Again, good feedback, and when that happens, I believe the subconscious wants to play, but as yet possibly does not yet know how to play. Now, I know this is true, of course, because many times the subconscious has confirmed that to me afterwards. That's something you're going to find out for yourself. But of course, there is the third thing that can happen, and that is that nothing happened, and they didn't feel anything happen either. And again, that's okay, as we still have feedback. It would have been fantastic if something had either happened or been felt. Their expectation would have been higher. However, and here's the thing, and this is extremely important, as you continue with your chat or indeed responsive tests, look out for them telling you a little later about that feeling beginning to happen now in that hand that didn't do anything 5 to 10 minutes earlier. Many times it happens late, and many times it will happen if tested again at the end of the session or even halfway through. So remember, give the subconscious time to check out those chemicals, neurons, nerves, fibres, muscles. And remember, it's being directly asked a question, asked if it wants to play, asked to come and meet you halfway across this bridge. So let it warm up. Some will move immediately, others take a moment, but catch-up can happen at great speed. And I have many clients, by the way, who, whilst not having been able to hypnotise them before, have completely loved the swan, and suddenly, after doing the swan, they become really good hypnotists. That great Australian hypnotist and mesmerist, Rick Collingwood, very kindly wrote that the swan might be the gateway to the whole flock. I really like this, thanks Rick. As for me, it hopefully forms the perfect analogy for why I constructed the swan. I've been looking for many years for a certain protocol, a procedure, whereby I could talk to and get a response from a subconscious part of a subject without allowing them to feel nervous or embarrassed in any way, and neither do they feel any expectation in any way, shape or form. So indeed in the swan, We're going to actually tell them that we're just going to have a bit of fun. We expect nothing will happen, nothing in any way, shape or form. So, welcome to the Swan.